Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 16 of the Between the Lines podcast with me, Daniel, and my buddy Michael. We're coming at y'all with some very exciting news to start the podcast off. Due to the importance of the Week 18 game between the Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, me and Michael will be heading down to Florida, Tampa, Florida, um, on a road trip to go see the Carolina Panthers play and battle in hopes of capturing the division and going to the playoffs for the first time since 2017. So a lot of stuff on the line this upcoming Saturday. Um, Michael, you just want to share your thoughts? What are you excited about, and your thoughts on that?
Yeah, obviously got to give a shout out to Danny, my boy Daniel. He threw the idea out there the other night, and pretty quickly we shuffled through the details and what the plans would be, and obviously we did this during Sunday Night Football, so the biggest thing for us was figuring out. All the reports came out from some pretty good insiders in the Carolina Panthers world, like Joe Person and Mike Kay, some people who are regularly in the building for Carolina Panthers and kind of talk with the people, insiders down in Charlotte. Most of them said Saturday would be the game, but obviously it's a doubleheader Saturday, so we were waiting to see whether it would be the 4:30 game or it would be the 8 o'clock game. Um, and obviously we had to wait until after Sunday Night Football to figure that out because that's when the schedule came out. Obviously great game between the Bears and the 49ers on Sunday Night Football. Kept you back and forth the whole game. It was pretty awesome to watch, especially two NFC teams. NFC teams we could play. Obviously, San Francisco 49ers could be the fifth seed, and if we beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or if somehow we lose and Atlanta beats the Saints, and we make the playoffs and we host the number five seed in the first round. Obviously, it could be any three of the NFC West teams, which is crazy. We've played all three of them. It could be the Seahawks, then Rams, or the Niners. Obviously, like I told Danny, I'd much rather play the Rams. I mean, I'd much rather play the Seahawks or the 49ers, two teams we lost to, than play the Rams. The Rams are kind of a team that's get beat up on a little bit. They're going to come into the playoffs pissed off. Matthew Stafford's very good in the playoffs. And obviously, we beat them already at home, so they're going to be back for more vengeance. So hopefully, it's not the Rams we play first round. I'm hoping for the Seahawks. Would love to get another shot at them. I don't like we'll talk about in a few minutes. I don't think they were a better team than us. I think just some things on the offensive side of the ball, which is what we talked about the most, um, was not there. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But I don't think the Seahawks were a widely better team than us. And obviously, we know the San Francisco 49ers were not a better team than us. The defense played lights out that game. And again, what we'll talk about in a minute, the offense being the biggest problem in that game as well. So, I would love a shot again at the Seahawks or the 49ers, but we're gonna have to wait and see. First things first, like you said, we got to take care of business in Tampa on Saturday, 4:30. Me and you will be in Raymond James Stadium. A first road game for either one of us, NFL wise. Obviously, I've owned season tickets for 3 years for the Panthers. Danny has went to mostly all, but like maybe three games with me in those 3 years. Um, you know, so obviously we've been to plenty of Panther games, but this is a first for both of us. Never been on the road, but we're taking a 9.5 hour drive. It'll probably be more how many times we stop and have to use the bathroom and take a rest or whatever. But by the time we get down there, it'll probably be about 10, 11 hours, somewhere around there. But it is a nice little drive. But hey, this is a core memory. This is something we'll be able to tell our kids about 30 years down the road or 20, 30 years down the road, we'll be able to tell our kids about this. 30, 40 years down the road, we'll be able to tell our grandkids. And the good thing about YouTube is, we can show them this video. We can show them these podcasts where we were, 21-year-olds just having fun. Like my parents have always said, you're young, um, you know, take that money and do something you want to do with it. And we're both living at home still. Obviously, you're in college, but I live at home still. So, um, I think this would be fun for us. That the tickets are becoming more and more reasonable. If you're a Panther fan and you can get down to Tampa on Saturday, drive or fly or whatever, you should do it. I mean, we're talking like $60 for a ticket. Two tickets, $60 a piece. You go on Tick Pick, you're paying 120 for two tickets in a NFC South Championship game. That is awesome. I mean, that's and the seats are not bad in Raymond James Stadium if you go look at them. So, it's enough of a rant from me. I'm super excited. It's gonna be awesome. Uh, we're gonna be huddled up in a car together for about 11 hours, 10, 11 hours, heading down to Tampa. But when we get down there, it's gonna be electric. It's gonna be electric. It's gonna be awesome to just be in that atmosphere, a playoff like atmosphere on the road. And we're gonna see how we can attack it. We're going to see how the Panthers can attack it. Obviously, like we'll talk about in a minute, the offense has to be the biggest key point going forward. Has been all year. Needs to be going forward. Shout out the defense, but yeah, I'm super excited, and I'll let you tell me how you're feeling about it.
Yeah. First things first. We're currently recording this episode on a Tuesday night. We weren't able
Yes.
to upload or record yesterday, Monday night. I was feeling a little bit under the weather. I still kind of am, but I'm feeling a little bit better. So that's kind of our reasoning for not being able to record yesterday. So that's our apologies. But now that that's out of the way, I'm excited. I'm hyped. When you have an opportunity to clinch a playoff berth with the whole world watching you, you're the only game on that um, Saturday evening, 4:30. It's a pretty big game. This is the biggest game in your franchise history since you played the New Orleans Saints back in 2017. So this is something that we've wanted as fans, and so I'm happy. We're very excited, and honestly, we weren't even like I wasn't even expecting to um, we weren't even expecting to go to Tampa. This just kind of happened like, oh, how do you feel about this? If we go, like, because I mean, this could be our last game of the year, um, and whatnot. And so, if it is, or whatever happens, we want to be there and experience that. Um, and not only just the experience, just the um, experience, driving down to Florida, and seeing all these, cool things. Just have, like Michael said, like you said, it's a core memory. We're gonna have fun regardless and whatnot. So I'm very excited. But shout out Mike for getting the tickets. Shout out Lance. Like you said, $60. So if you're a Panthers fan and you want to go down to Florida or you're interested in watching the game, go down there. I mean, I think it'd be very fun. We're excited. So only 4 days away, um, and I'm just very excited. There's not a whole lot of words I can really put to describe, but you'll know, once we get down there, and we'll be, actually there, in that atmosphere. Because it's gonna be a playoff game. It's a playoff game. You win, you're in. You lose, you're not technically all the way out because, like you said, Atlanta, if they are able to win, then you're in the playoffs still. But we want to take care of business,
Right.
our like for ourselves. Um, that would be the number one thing for us. We don't want to have to rely on a division rival, but if we do, then we do. That's how it works. But let's now that it's out of the way, we'll come back and talk about this later. But um, just shooting right back in um, to Seattle. Obviously a disappointing loss, 27-10 this past Sunday against a very talented Seattle Seahawks team. Um, and Carolina Panthers, was hanging in there for the most part. Just some crucial mental errors really kind of derailed the momentum um, for this game. Michael, if you want to kind of shoot us off, tell everyone what your thoughts of the game and kind of how you're feeling or about the outcome and what kind of goes next in the direction for Carolina.
Yeah. Obviously, like you said, very disappointing loss. It even is more disappointing knowing that, you could already clinch the NFC South this week. Tampa Bay lost to Miami in Miami this past weekend. And all the Panthers had to do was beat the Seahawks and we're in. So we wouldn't have to worry about this week. We probably wouldn't even be heading down. We wouldn't be heading down to Tampa. I don't know if we'd even play many of our starters. We'd have the 4th seed locked up, couldn't go down. So, obviously very disappointing. Like you said, a neck and neck game through the first half. 3-3 at halftime. It was a very big defensive game. It was kind of sloppy on both sides. Nobody really could do anything on offense the first half. The ball wasn't getting moved down the field at all. Um, and that just completely flipped in the second half. Costly mistakes by the Panthers offense. It seems like we talk about it all the time. Costly mistakes, stupid penalties for both sides of the ball, stupid mistakes, shooting ourselves in the foot. And that's been the name of the game all year for the Carolina Panthers offense. It's just been playing behind the sticks, not being able to move the ball down the field, horrible play calls in horrible situations, and it's time after time been the same thing. Like somebody said, the Seahawks only scored 6 points. The defense, our Carolina Panthers defense only let up 6 points when the ball wasn't given to Seattle in beautiful spots plus territory. So, it ain't the defense's fault. The offense was giving the ball away. Um, Obviously, a pick by Bryce. I think he had one. Did he have one or two of them? He had one, but
One.
he had an 18.3 QBR rating. That is horrible. I think you get a 35 or a 36 if you came up to the line and spiked the ball every play. So he had worse than that, and he went 14 for 24 for 54 yards and a pick. He only averaged 2.3 yards a pass, but I can't really blame it all on him. The play calling was just absolutely atrocious. We went back to the vanilla, everything under 10 yards, try to, swing past the running back every other play, and hopefully he can break it out, break a few tackles and make a play. But that's not going to work against a team like the Seattle Seahawks, especially number one offense. The number one defense in the NFL and the number one team in the NFC. I mean, that's not how you play against a team like that. If you want to win big games against big teams, that's the play calling I saw was not what they wouldn't beat the Las Vegas Raiders with that play calling. I'm just gonna be honest with you. That was horrible play calling all around. But it's a tale of two play calls. I mean, like we look back on the Rams game, the play calling was night and day different to this play calling. You look back on the Green Bay game, same thing. Play calling night and day to this. There's no consistency on the offensive side of the ball, especially with Dave Canales. We've talked about it all year. It's the biggest thing that worries me from week 18 into the playoffs is the consistency of offensive play calling. It's not there. One week we're throwing the ball 5, 10 times over 15, 20 yards, and the next week we only throw one pass over 10. So like it's got to be a consistent thing week in and week out. Like I forget who it was. I think it was Tedero McMillan said in post game. He said they showed us a lot of man and we hadn't seen that on film. I'll tell you why they're playing man coverage because they trust their corners to take away anything under 10 yards. You're not having any deep threat down the field. You have no deep threats. They are not respecting you at all. If they are running man coverage against you all game, they do not respect you downfield. They do not respect any concepts that you have, and it shows. Your quarterback only had 54 yards on 14 completions. He averaged 2 yards a pass, one interception, and had a QB rating worse than what it would be if you spiked the ball every play. That's on Dave Canales. No doubt there's some of us on Bryce Young. Bryce Young's got to be better too. I'm not going to put all the blame on Dave Canales. I'm not going to put all the blame on Bryce Young, but both of them have to be hand in hand together. And it seems like some games Dave Canales just doesn't have the trust in his quarterback that we see out of other coaches. You look at a guy like Kellen Moore in New Orleans, Tyler Shuck. Shout out to the kid, man. He's a baller, man. He's been balling out the past few weeks. But Kellen Moore has absolute trust in that kid, and he's only been playing half the games this whole year, and he's a rookie in the NFL. We're talking about a number one pick in the backfield. We're talking about a Heisman Trophy winner. We're talking about a guy that was highly respected among everybody, including one of the greatest, if not the greatest, college coaches of all time, and Nick Saban. We're talking about a guy that we obviously know can do it. He's took his team to the national championship. He's won a Heisman Trophy. He's a dang good ball player. What we've seen in college, he was a dang good ball player. But I'm not seeing that same level of trust that Nick Saban had in Bryce Young that I'm seeing Dave Canales have in Bryce Young. It's night and day. And I'm not trying to compare Nick Saban, one of the greatest, not the greatest college football coaches of all time, to Dave Canales because it's not a comparison. It's two different systems, it's two different offenses, it's two different places, it's two different leagues. But we're talking about he played in one of the best conferences in college football in the SEC. He didn't play against bums. He was playing against guys that are playing in the NFL now. We're talking about guys like Keely Ringo for Georgia. I mean, these are guys who start in the NFL, man. These aren't bums. We're talking about Jalen Walker for Georgia. Those are guys who start for Atlanta. Like these are people. He's not playing against 2 and 3 stars at Alabama. He can play football. We know he can throw it down the field. We've seen plays he can throw it down the field. We know he can make the acrobatic crazy plays that Mahomes likes plays, if you want to say. Chris Collinsworth, he makes the Mahomes type plays. He can move around in the pocket. He can scramble out. He can evade the pressures. He can make the throws. Like we know Bryce Young can do that. But I want to see Dave Canales have that trust to let him do those things. I want Dave Canales to let him play Bryce Young football. Be like Bama Bryce. You know, push the ball down the field. You have deep threats like Tedero McMillan, like Jalen Coker. You have a speedy guy that can get you yardage like Jimmy Horn Jr. You have those guys who can make plays for you, but you got to be able to trust them as the offensive play caller and the head coach. And I just don't see that. Obviously, 8-8 is better than probably what anybody imagined, but I'm not settling for being okay with 8-8. That's mid, man. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. If you're playing in any other conference in the NFL, you're already eliminated. If you're playing in any other division in the NFL, you're eliminated right now, except maybe the AFC North. But that's if you have the tiebreakers like Baltimore has. If you're playing in the NFC South, if you're playing in the NFC West, you're you're fourth. You're fourth in the NFC West. You're fourth. If you're playing in the NFC East, you're like third. I mean, like this is what I'm talking about, man. Is like there's no consistency with the Carolina Panthers. There's no consistency on the offensive side of the ball. Got to give it up to Ejiro Evero. He played lights out again as he coached lights out again as a defensive coordinator. I'm gonna give him credit week in and week out. I need him to be big this weekend against Baker Mayfield and his Tampa offense. But I need Dave Canales to be big with that Carolina Panthers offense. You know what I'm saying? Like we got to have Ejiro Evero, Dave Canales, and Tracy Smith, the special team coordinator. If we can have all three of those on the same page, this team can be very good. I mean, let's be honest. I think there's players in all three phases of the game that are very good. I love Trevor Etienne as a kick returner, punt returner. So I'm giving a special team shout out. I love Ryan Fitzgerald. We look on the defensive side of the ball: J.C. Horn, Derek Brown, Christian Roseboom, Trayvon Moehrig, Mike Jackson. There's guys on the defense that show out every week. You look on the offensive side of the ball. There is people who can make plays. Bryce Young, Rico Dowdle, Tedero McMillan, Jalen Coker, Jimmy Horn, Tommy Trimble. There's a good 5 offensive starting linemen, but it has to be put together by all 3 coaches. We got to they have to put the players in the right position to make the right plays, and I just don't see it right now. And we're going to definitely have to do it this week. Like we said, you don't want to trust in an NFC South rival to help another NFC South rival make the playoffs. You want to take care of business on Saturday, go home early Sunday morning, knowing you are NFC South champions, knowing before any other game is played that Sunday that you are NFC South champions, you're the 4 seed, and you can just watch and figure out who you're going to play next weekend. So that's something that has to be a priority for this team, and I hope it is. But I'll let you piggyback off me and say what you want to say about this game. But disappoint from the offense yet again.
Yeah, completely agree with you. And just to piggyback off of you of your last thing, um, no. So whoever if we were to take care of business on Saturday and win, we will be playing the winner. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, the winner of Seattle and San Francisco because, or it just depends on
Hey, I'll,
what
I'll tell you
LA
right
does
now. I'll
because,
tell you right now.
like
Okay, the 5 seed works like this. Seattle automatically gets it if they lose.
the 5 seed.
Seattle gets it if they lose. Um, San Francisco gets it if they lose and Los Angeles loses, and then Los Angeles gets it if they win and San Francisco loses. So if Seattle loses, they automatically get the 5th seed. After that, it'll be Seattle wins. Is most likely it would be the Rams since they'll probably win against Arizona, and then of course San Francisco will have that loss to Seattle. So um, bank on it probably being Seattle or Los Angeles, one or the other. Fingers crossed for me at least. I hope it's Seattle. I don't want to play the Rams again. Not yet. Not first round of the playoffs because I don't know if we could beat them again. That's for sure.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this playoff bracket towards the end of the podcast. But just to come back and talk about the game. Um, I mean, this is a poor, um, dysfunctional offense. And that's just how it is. That's how I see it. When you look at other offenses in the league, it's like a crazy comparison when you look at it. Like we were watching two play callers go to war on Sunday night with Kyle Shanahan and Ben Johnson, and then you look at the Carolina Panthers offense, and it's like you got Dave Canales who's like peeing down his leg when he sees the Seattle Seahawks defense. And this is the same defense that the Los Angeles Rams put 37 points on prime time. And then that's also the same Los Angeles Rams team that you hung 30 on in a win. So, I mean, there's some things that we should be able to do. We should be able to throw the ball downfield, no matter the situation. But then again, when you have receivers that can get open, you know, in zone coverage or in man coverage, like it's going to be hard for the quarterback to, help the team out. Because, I mean, you have a liability in David Legate. I mean, let's just call it how it is. He's been nothing but a liability this year. And, I think um, this offseason coming up, we're definitely going to bring in some competition. I heard that he only had around like 55% of the offensive snaps um, against Seattle, which is a significant decrease. So obviously, Dave Canales is seeing that he's obviously not helping out the offense as much as he would be. Um, so that's kind of like that. And then it also doesn't help when Tedro McMillan isn't making plays, and he's your expected wide receiver one. So there's also that. And then you mentioned that Jalen Coker was our leading receiver with 16 yards. Is that right? Yeah, 16 yards. So, um, I mean, there's just a whole lot of stuff that needs to be fixed with this offense. Um, and I'm not going to put the blame on one player, um, but Bryce Young, he needs to be better um, no matter what. That's how it is. I'm tired of Carolina Panthers fans, keep holding his hand through, these kind of situations. Like we're in year 3 now. CJ Stroud is going to the playoffs in his third straight year. CJ Stroud is balling. Um, and, even though he had an interception or two against the Chargers, he still willed his offense to a win um, to clinch a playoff berth. He's proven to be a winner in the NFL. Bryce Young is not. Um, and I'm not, gonna say, well, if you put Bryce Young on the Texans or you could see a Stroud on the Panthers, it'll be different. We don't know that, but I'm just saying that there. I don't think there's no excuse for Bryce Young to be equal or better than CJ Stroud. It's just Dave Canales. Two things could be right, or yeah, two things could be right. Dave Canales is holding Bryce Young back, but Bryce Young is also not playing to the standard that he should be for a number one overall pick. And I think that's something that a lot of Carolina Panther fans are not understanding. So I think, Dave Canales, this is a huge, before I get to that, there are four losses this year that have been taken off the board that should be wins. San Francisco Monday night should have been a win. Both of the Saints games that we played should have been wins, but it was all because of the fault of Dave Canales' terrible offensive play calling. And then Arizona week 2, terrible play calling and terrible quarterback play in the first half. Although they picked it up in the second half, you shouldn't be down that big of a hole to begin with. That's 4 wins right there. So you're looking at 12 wins right now if you're able to if you were able to have at least some competent play calling and offensive play throughout those 4 losses. So I'm just saying this team could be so much better, but Dave Canales is holding this offense back in ways that I feel like a lot of people aren't looking at. Um, so obviously my frustration towards Dave Canales. I don't think he's proven to be a worthy play caller, and I think his ego is too big for him to give up the play calling. I don't think he's going to do that, but especially this late in the year. But I hope during the off season he can understand that what would be good for the team going forward. Um, but that's just how I feel about it. Feel about the situation. Um, and I don't know what the conditions were in Charlotte for that game. Obviously, I wasn't there. I was sick. Um, can you tell me like was it what the situation was there?
It wasn't bad. There was like a little mist here and there, but it was probably worse at the. I think it rained at the Rams game, didn't it? We were at.
Yeah.
It was worse at the Rams game than it was this game, so it wasn't no excuse.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, yeah, 54 yards is absolutely pitiful. I wouldn't expect that. I mean, I get it. You're going up against a talented defense in the Seahawks, but I mean, dude, 54 yards and you're a former number one overall pick. Like, Dave, bro, like we got to do something, man. I mean, I just I think looking at this, like if you're just a regular NFL fan and you're looking at that stat line, like you would be like, what the heck is going on? I mean, it's and it's very frustrating to watch because the type of talent that could easily be put up if you just open up the playbook more. Um, but he has a playbook, he has a game plan going into the game, and he sticks by it no matter what. No adjustments were made against Seattle. None. Absolutely none. Um, he just constantly goes run, run, pass, and it's predictable. And you're practically sending. You're going up against 4 DBs to like 2, maybe 1 receiver. That's kind of how it is. Excel's a liability. Um, you have Coker, who we love Coker, but when you going up against a Tariq Woolen or something like that, it's a mismatch. And then you have Terrell McMillan, a rookie, who has his share of struggles this year as well. Although he's been our best receiver, it's still hard. So I mean, it's hard to do that, but still. there's got to be some sort of competent offense that we could be seeing instead of that, you know, poor, pathetic offensive performance. Um, and this was worse than the 49ers game, and that says a lot. So, there's some stuff that needs to be improved on heading into this Tampa game, and I'm expecting a better offensive performance because I know Dave is going to say to the team, we're not going to focus on whatever Atlanta or Seattle does. Play like this is an elimination game. You need a coach like you've never coached before. You're going up against your former team that you called play for. You need to throw everything that you have at this Tampa Bay defense, and you cannot play like you did against Seattle, against New Orleans, against 49ers. You cannot do that. Please, Dave, for the love of everything, come out aggressive. If you come out aggressive, you're going to be just fine. But if you come out and playing like you're scared, like you've never played football before, we're not going to win. I'm just going to say that right now. So, that's my focus right now. How aggressive is Dave going to be? My expectations are uh, kind of low at the moment, but you know, I'm just hoping that something happens. Um, but yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the game. In terms of against Seattle, you know, so I mean, defensively, I mean, you got to give them credit where it's due. I mean, they were balling out, like you said. Um, when the ball wasn't turned over into good field position, they played well and they were on the field for a lot of the time. I thought we held up against JSN pretty well, only holding him to about under 80 yards receiving. So I thought we did pretty well. Mike Jackson had himself a great game. Um, I know we've had a couple of not so good stuff to say about Mike Jackson early in the year, but I think he's really improved as a number two corner, playing alongside JC Horn. um, so we got to give real props to him for playing well against his former team. Um, he was on JSN for a lot of the game, and then when you look at the other side, um, beside him, JC Horn, he had himself a struggleish game, costing a penalty, which led to a face mask, led them to extend a drive on a 3rd and 21. So, obviously when you give up, errors like that, kind of don't deserve to win. Because at that point, the bank was rocking. I heard it was very loud on TV. Um, and then when you kind of give that up, crowd goes silent. The momentum switches over to Seattle, and they end up, scoring and whatnot. So that was hard to watch, but you know, we gotta switch now our focus onto Tampa and go out and clinch a playoff berth. But now switching our focus over to let's see, what were we over to the preview against Tampa. Kind of Michael, just share your thoughts and what you were expecting going up against Tampa in Week 18 on prime time. Are you expecting anything different out of Tampa compared to the last game we played against them a couple weeks ago? Um, just kind of give your thoughts there.
Yeah, I don't think Tampa's going to go away from what they tried to do last time. I think what they're going to try to do is, um, you know, establish the run early. Bucky Irvin. I think they want to get him involved quick and early. But same thing down there with Tampa. They does their offensive coordinator trust Baker Mayfield? Um, after a shaky performance last outing against us, he only went 18 for 26 with 145 yards and obviously threw a pick. So wasn't one of those big time Baker games that they usually talk about. But I'd love to see more of what we saw last time against Tampa offensively for us to be the same way this time around. Um, Maybe a little bit more of the run game involved. Rico Dowd only had 9 carries for 29 yards last time against Tampa. Obviously, Bryce Young threw 32 passes, 2 touchdowns, almost 200 passing yards. Would love to see that again. I loved how we spread the ball around. I love how we moved the ball down the field. We were very, you know, we wanted to be more aggressive. Um, we wanted to be more threatening down the field. And I think Dave Canales showed that last time against Tampa, and I'd love to see it again this time. Um, but hey, the defense played great against them as well. Only allowing 20 points, only allowing 10 in the first half, only allowing 10 in the second half. So, shout out to Idra Rivero. He's been balling out the past few weeks. If you hold a team to 20 points, usually you can win a ball game in the NFL nowadays if your offense is competent. But again, our offense has not been competent lately. So, would love to see a balanced run and pass game. Establish the run early. Get Rico Dowdle involved. He hasn't been involved much lately. Robert Hunt, full participant at practice today. So maybe looks like he could be activated and be back this week. Would be a big addition back on the offensive line. Hey, let Robert Hunt do Robert Hunt things, man. Let's run the ball a little bit. Let's move the ball down the field. I love we'll be back to our starting a line that I'm happy with, and that is Cade Mays at center, Robert Hunt and Damian Lewis as your guards, and then Taylor Moton and Ike Ekwonu as your tackles. So let's just run the ball. Let's establish the run. Let's attack the run game. Let's get Rico Dowdle involved. Even if it's Chuba Hubbard, let's get Chuba Hubbard involved. Let's get that run game. Let's establish the run, and then let Bryce Young work off of that. Obviously, conditions are going to be beautiful in Tampa on Saturday. We're talking 70 degrees under the lights most of the game. It's going to be a playoff atmosphere. It's going to be a big time game. So, I can't really say nothing about the defense because the defense has done things consistently that I can't really say, oh, I need the defense to do this because they've been doing that. So, all of it's on the offense. The offense has to take over this game. Dave Canales obviously knows what it's like to be in big time games. Obviously, he's went to the playoffs with Tampa Bay. So he knows what it's like. He's obviously went to the playoffs with Seattle. He knows what it's like to be in these type of games. He knows what it's like to be in playoff atmospheres. Well, it's time to show how good you think you are. Let's see what the offense can do. If you're going to call your best game, make it this game. Okay, let's just make the playoffs and then we can go from there. But make sure your best game you've called this year is this game, Week 18 in Tampa. It's a big road game. Obviously, the Tampa Bay fans are probably going to show out. I know the tickets are a little cheaper, and it looks like a lot of people are selling their tickets. But just let's be honest, keep an eye on Tampa Bay social media. They're going to be hyping this game up all week. They know what it means. You know, they know they have to win and then hope for a New Orleans win. So, they got to take care of business first as well, just like us. We got to take care of business first as well. And it's gonna be electric. It's gonna be exciting in Tampa. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to be there. But yeah, offense has to do the best play call, the best game that Dave Canales has ever called of his life, high school, college, NFL, whatever it is, make it this game. The biggest game in Panther history in the last 10 years. I don't care what anybody says. The Steve Wilkes game in Tampa, that CJ Henderson and Keith Taylor were, let up Mike Evans do crazy things. That was not as huge a game as this is because that game, we still didn't control our own destiny. That was week 17 that year. If we won, we'd have to hope for another win in week 18 against New Orleans, which we did, but it was a close game that year. So this is the biggest game in Panther history in the last 10 years because we control our own destiny. That year we didn't control our own destiny. This year we control our own destiny. we're able to get into the playoffs if we win. If we win, it doesn't matter whatever happens the rest of the games in Week 18. We're in the playoffs. We're the first game of Week 18. Like you said, we'll be the only game on ESPN, ABC, national television. It's time to put up or shut up. And I hope Dave Canales comes ready. That's all I can hope for.
Yeah. There's no guarantees with Dave Canales, so just gotta just hope for the best. And we'll get to see that in person. Um, hopefully we'll be able to walk into Raymond James Stadium happy, enthusiastic, and then leave Raymond James Stadium happy and knowing that we are NFC South champions. So, but I mean, as far as this game preview goes, I'm expecting a lot of Buck fans are actually, they're wanting to lose this game because they want to see Todd Bowles get fired. They are done with Todd Bowles. Um, Todd Bowles is like what Xavier Leggett is to us. Um, that's kind of what they're doing right now with Todd Bowles. But I'm, you know, I kind of, I'm kind of 50-50 on what to expect. Because obviously Tampa can turn up in a heartbeat. I mean, even though they're 7-9, they still have Mike Evans, future Hall of Famer. They still have Chris Godwin. They still have a talented O line, Bucky Irving, solid running back, and Baker Mayfield, who was an MVP candidate, during the first 6, 7 weeks of the season. Um, so, you know, there's no, you know, going with that. Um, but I think with Baker Mayfield, when you're going against him, he is prone to make some turnovers and costly mistakes. So if you're able, to get some pressure on him and force him to make, these bad throws, force a fumble, create a pick, I think that will set, the offense in good shape. And, so I think the defense is going to have to play a key factor in this game if we want to win. JC Horn has to limit those penalties. And if he has to tackle low, not high. He's prone to tackle high, which is what costed him to get that face mask penalty against the Jigba. And so defense is going to play a key factor. Um, I heard that they're playing Isaiah Simmons at safety. I don't know if that's going to derail them much going into this week, but that's what I heard from there. So yeah, defense is gonna have to play a key factor. Gonna have to limit, that offense. So not gonna take Tampa lightly, no matter what the record is. Um, and he's pretty much covered, what the offense needs to do. I'm not going to explain much there. Um, you know, they know what they need to take care of, and they need to handle business. So that's just kind of what we're expecting there. Um, but it's gonna be very fun to. It's gonna be very fun at the game. Atmosphere is gonna be crazy. We're gonna be as loud as we can. We're gonna scream and bring the energy. I don't care if I lose my voice or not. So as long as it hopes to Carolina Panthers win, I'm all for it. But going off to our final uh, topic of the podcast today, um, we're gonna be currently looking at the current playoff bracket. We're gonna be highlighting some teams and what teams we currently like right now, with only 1 week left to go until the playoffs. Um, one regular season week left before the playoffs start. And we're going to be going through the AFC and NFC, just picking one team we like for both conferences and kind of explaining why it's that. So, Michael, if you want to get us started on the AFC side, currently, right now, you have the one-seeded Broncos, five-seed Texans, four-seed Steelers, six-seeded Chargers, three-seeded Jaguars, seven-seeded Bills, and two-seeded Patriots.
Yeah. Just a hot man. Let's just go off the rip, man. Let's go. Let's just go with the number one seed, man. You know, the Denver Broncos. Shout out Bo Nix. Shout out Sean Payton. You know, you look at Sean Payton teams, they just find a way to win in the playoffs, man. Every time it just seems like New Orleans is in every game in the playoffs. When he was coaching them, New Orleans was in every game in the playoffs. They were winning games. They were winning Super Bowls. So, you know, that's a very good young team, a very good young defense, a very good young offense, headed by Bo Nix, Cortland Sutton, you know, Mims and Troy Franklin, Evan Ingram. On the defense side of the ball, you got Nick Pitino. Um, you know, you got Pat Surtain, you got Riley Moss. You got a very good team on both sides of the ball. You know, I love the Denver Broncos. You know, I know you said highlight one team, but you know, I also love the Patriots, man. I mean, I love Drake May, man. Drake May is just, dude, he's so impressive, man. You know, I'm a Duke guy, so I don't like giving shout outs to Carolina guys, but man, Drake May is a baller, dude. That kid is, you know, he slings the ball. He can make any throw on the field at any given time. Josh McDaniels has been a great help for him. Mike Vrabel's been a great help for him. He needed those coaches in his career, and I'm glad he's got them. But you know, if we're highlighting one team, it's the Denver Broncos. You know, as much as I don't like Sean Payton, for many years with Drew Brees and him in New Orleans, having to watch them. Obviously, that's who we played the last time we were in the playoffs. 2017 was Sean Payton and Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints in New Orleans. So not a big fan of Sean Payton, but you know, hey, I respect good coaches. I respect, ball respect. You know, I respect football, man. Like I respect the guys who are good at football, and he's a good coach. And Bo Nix needed him, and Bo Nix has been balling out. But yeah, the Denver Broncos are a team that I loved in the AFC.
I think that's a safe pick. I mean, they're the number one seed right now for a reason. I think they exceeded a lot of people's expectations coming in. You know, with the second year quarterback in Bo Nix. I feel like not a lot of people thought that he would take the Denver Broncos, you know, to this incredible jump that they've been on. And a lot of it has been, you know, to the credit of their incredible defense. You know, even with Patrick Surtain being out for a number of games early in the year, they were still able to find a way to win games and continue to be on this, you know, impressive season. So, you know, kudos to them. But my team that I like right now in the AFC is the Houston Texans. I think what they've been able to do, coming back, you know, being down, you know, 0-3 to start the year. You lost C.J. Stroud for a couple of games. And you had to lean on your backup Davis Mills, and he was able to win you three games. He went 3-0. And then, you know, the highlight of your defense, being able to win these big games. They were able to beat Josh Allen and the Bills on Thursday night in an incredible defensive showing for them. And just keep on stacking these wins. It's been, you know, really incredible to watch, really. Um, so, and CJ Stroud is, you know, picking up at the right time, you know, with the help of their defense. When you're able to have competent offensive football, like the Houston Texans have been able to do, and then you also have you know, arguably the best defense in football to help alongside that, you know, you're gonna win a lot of games. And um, having them, you know, be in double digit wins um, after starting 0-3 is really impressive. So, you know, I got to give credit where, you know, credit is due. So I think they're a solid team. I think right now they have the most momentum out of anyone in the AFC, maybe besides the New England Patriots. But I really like what D'Amico Ryans has been able to do. I know that he has that locker room, um, ready to go at all costs. He's a locker room guy. He just fits that mold. So I really like the Houston Texans right now, um, and what they're able to do. So kudos to C.J. Stroud and leading that offense and having D'Amico Ryans lead that incredible group. So kudos to them. Um, Now heading to the NFC side, you have obviously the one seeded Seahawks, five seeded 49ers, currently right now four seeded Panthers, six seeded Rams, three seeded Eagles, seven seeded Packers, and two seeded Bears. Michael, who is your team right now that you like in the NFC?
Yeah, I think after watching Sunday Night Football the other night, obviously we played them already this year, but got to give it up to right now the fifth seeded 49ers, man. I love what Kyle Shanahan is doing in San Francisco. Obviously, they have a potential to be number one seed, and they could play if they run the table. They could play the rest of their games this season in their home stadium because the Super Bowl is in San Francisco. Um, obviously, not saying that's who is going to make the Super Bowl. NFC has very good teams, but man, I love what the 49ers are doing right now. I love what Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy are doing. And they're doing it with guys injured, man, on both sides. I mean, like, we're talking about the 49ers, they didn't have George Kittle. Half their players have been banged up all year. Ricky Pearsall's missed time. George Kittle's missed time. Multiple defensive players are out. Obviously, Nick Bosa's not playing the rest of the year. Fred Warner probably won't be back until the NFC Championship if they make it. So, you know, they're balling out against the two seeded Bears with half their guys out. So, shout out Kyle Shanahan, shout out the 49ers. I think they're going to make a run in the playoffs and, possibly could be number one seed, but also possibly could be in Carolina for round one if we make the playoffs. So, but yeah, San Francisco's my team to watch right now. I'm very impressed with Kyle Shanahan and Brock Purdy. He's making plays when plays are needed. Christian McCaffrey's putting his heart and soul on the line like he always has, and I love how that defense flies around. Robert Saleh, when crunch time comes down to it, his defense is there, ready to go. So, shout out 49ers, love what they're doing.
Um, I completely agree. I was going to say the 49ers as well. I think they're playing the best football out of anyone right now um, in the NFC. When you just look at the situation around them, all these injuries to their star players piled up. You know, they're at 12 wins. That's just an incredible, feat. Um, and they're also they've been without Brandon Ayuk the entire year. He has not suited up one time this entire year on offense. So you got to look at that as well. They're relying on guys like Juwan Jennings, who, if Brandon Ayuk was healthy, he would be their third receiver on the depth chart. But he's taken that incredible jump to where he's playing very good football. They got guys like Ricky Pearsall, who they drafted early in the second round. Um, so he's made an incredible jump after, he's missed time with a PCL injury this year. So, props to him and, just Kyle Shanahan for getting these guys, ready to play no matter who's on the field. Um, and, George Kittle, he was out against the Chicago Bears, a guy who's if not one of the best tight ends in the league, maybe besides Trey McBride. Um, he was out for that game against Chicago, and they were still able to put up 42 points on the Chicago Bears. I mean, if you just think about that for a second, I mean, that's incredible. And their backup tight end stood up, um, to the plate, and he was able to score a touchdown. He made, a lot of catches, against the Chicago Bears. Um, I really like what the 49ers are doing. John Lynch has done an incredible job building that team. No matter who's on the field, um, I really like what they're doing. Um, and then you got a lot of guys stepping up on defense. Um, even though they don't get a lot of sacks with the defensive line, they are able to, affect the game without those sacks, batted balls, high pressure, you know, sending blitzes through their DBs. There's a lot of different ways that Robert Saleh likes to affect games with their defense. And if you look at the last play of the game against Chicago, when their defense needed to step up, they did um, for the game ender. And I think, they just done an incredible job, with that. So I think, a lot of kudos to the Niners. But my dog's about to get up and bark right now because someone just pulled in the driveway. So they started barking. Just I apologize for that. But guys, that is all for episode 16 of Between the Lines podcast. Mike, you know, we're so excited to get down to Tampa, and we're gonna share the content on TikTok, Twitter, all that stuff. When on our way down there and when we get there. So stay tuned to that. Um, Mike, if you have anything to say, go ahead.
I'm all good, man. Let's head down to Tampa in a few days and let's keep pounding. Go Panthers.
Yes, sir. So we'll be back here next week. Hopefully talking about how we're NFC South champs. But other than that, thank y'all so much for watching. And we'll see y'all next week, and we'll keep y'all updated throughout the weekend. Thank you guys. Keep pounding.
See y'all.